So here we go, the Monday Night Raw review as we set our sights on the Money in the Bank pay-per-view 4 weeks away in front of live fans. And while I'm excited in general about where things could be going once fans are back with, of course, big returns, new storylines, new rivalries, this past Monday Night Raw left a lot to be desired. And I'm going to tell you why right after this.
My name is Mike De Niro, and I am one-third of the New York City rap group, the Lords of Gotham. I am also the host of the Wrestling DeLorean podcast. The Wrestling DeLorean podcast is your one-stop shop for all the news and notes around the wrestling world. We talk about everything from WWE to AEW, Impact Wrestling, New Japan Pro Wrestling, MLW, Ring of Honor, and beyond. But wait, there's more. We also go back in time and discuss all the events and moments that made us all fans. New episodes of the Wrestling DeLorean podcast drop Monday through Friday. Yes, 5 episodes a week, and you can find us wherever you enjoy your favorite podcasts. So what are you waiting for? Hop in the Wrestling DeLorean, strap in your seatbelt, become a passenger of the Wrestling DeLorean podcast, and enjoy the ride, because it is going to be one hell of a good time.
Welcome to the WWE Podcast, your number one source for the latest in WWE news and straightforward analysis. Are you ready to get this thing going?
Give me a hell yeah! I said give me a hell yeah!
Then let's get this show started right now.
All right, welcome to your Monday Night Raw review show here on the WWE Podcast. And we're going to get to that review with a lot to discuss here as we move from the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view phase into Money in the Bank. Things have shifted. Storylines have begun to shift. Live audiences are just a mere few weeks away. Can you believe it? Can you believe that we are just this close to the finish line of being able to see people back, real live people on a weekly basis, not just a one-time WrestleMania deal, but rather every event. It's going to be awesome. So I'm excited for that. You know, I'm excited for all the potential returns between the rumored Brock Lesnar, heavily rumored, and I think he's got a very good chance of returning. The Rock, who I think is less likely, but if it's going to happen, probably later in the year towards WrestleMania. Of course, Edge looming out there. Becky Lynch looming out there. There's a lot of great things, I think, that are going to happen once they're back in front of fans. It's not going to happen all at once, nor should it, but it's going to happen in stages as we build towards, unbelievably, guys, next year's WrestleMania. I know that feels like forever away, but things move very quickly in our lives, as we know. So anyway, I'm excited for fans to be back, and just a few weeks left. A few weeks until this whole Thunderdome era is over. So thank you, everybody, for joining me once again. And if you want these ads in the show that you hear to just disappear magically, and you're using Apple Podcasts, and you have iOS 14.6 or later, meaning just do the latest software update. They have something called podcast subscriptions. Just go to my page. Just where you normally look at my all my shows. Click on subscribe, and you're going to get all of my shows from I think it was about a week and a half ago now forward, and until infinity, ad free. You can try us out for 3 days for free, and then it's just $2.99 a month. As well as we're going to be taking the Wrestling Nostalgia Show and putting it on Apple Podcasts, ad free, of course. That's a great thing, right? So try it out. I think you'll enjoy it, because nobody likes those pesky ads, including myself. But you got to keep the lights on somehow. You got to monetize your efforts. I think anybody be foolish not to. So check us out there, guys. It would help support the show, as well as Patreon, which all the content is going to remain the exact same. So nothing's changing there, and you get in the door for just $1, right? So pretty good deal there as well if you want to support the show. And get yourself on the Discord server, the VIP area that I had a blast with our supporters on Patreon. in our little VIP area, talking throughout the show about what was going on and just poking fun at each other. It was a lot of fun. So I would recommend that you get on Patreon, if nothing else, just for that, when we do pay-per-views. So don't forget, guys, tomorrow, Wrestling Nostalgia, which will be available on Patreon and the Apple Podcast subscription feed. Nostalgia will be dropping tomorrow. The mailbag will be dropping on the normal free feed, as well as everywhere else too tomorrow. So the mailbag, if you want your thoughts in on Hell in a Cell, if you want to get your questions or whatever in to me, now is the time to do it. You can email me at realwwepodcast@gmail.com, or you can, of course, send us your voicemail. You guys have been really fun with that lately too. 518-952-0247. So get your emails, get your questions in, get your rants in before tomorrow night's show. I think it's going to be a fun one. I'm pretty light, actually, on the emails and voicemails. So, guys, this is your chance. Get it in. All right, let's move to Monday Night Raw and talk about it, because they made a very clear, decisive shift to Money in the Bank. 5 qualifying matches for Money in the Bank. And, I'm fine with that. I think they like that too, because it immediately you're able to fill up the show without having to do too much thinking, because it's heavy on the wrestling, light on the silly entertainment, and you can just kind of plug and play and let the matches play out as they will. And, there was a running theme. The running theme was the night of upsets. And as I was thinking about it, it was the night of upsets. But it was a night of upsets because it had to be. The people that lost those matches, the heavy favorites that lost those matches, like Drew McIntyre, for example, don't belong in that match anyway. That is a match, the Money in the Bank ladder match, that is designed for those people that may not have otherwise gotten a chance. It should not be, as a rule of thumb, the same old and the usual suspects, right? It should be maybe those that you see on the horizon, maybe those that need a place to showcase their talents and to be able to, make a case for winning that briefcase. And I don't think that Drew McIntyre getting into that match would have done him any favors, especially when it's going to be in front of a live audience, guys. Don't forget that. No more pumped in audio. This is going to be raw, no pun intended, live reaction from fans when they're back in mid-July. So that pay-per-view is in front of live fans, and the fans would probably destroy Drew McIntyre grabbing that briefcase. I like, though, speaking of Drew, how the announcers actually addressed the elephant in the room, where Drew winning that briefcase would cause a conundrum, because his contract from Hell in a Cell supposedly read that he could not challenge Bobby Lashley as long as he was WWE champion again, for the title anyway. Doesn't mean they can't fight again, but of course, what's the point if they're not? The championship's not on the line. So, that said, the announcers were actually smart enough to bring up the fact that, well, if Drew wins and Bobby's still champion, what does he do? And they pointed out scenarios where he has to wait until Bobby loses the belt to somebody. I like how they actually brought that up, because I was thinking to myself, what are we doing, right? Why is Drew McIntyre in this match? If he wins, he can't do anything with it. So I think it was an intelligent observation to be brought up to the audience that, yeah, we recognize that this could be a scenario. However, this is all for naught, because Drew did not win, and he is seemingly on a downward spiral of his career, and not in a way that's actually a downward spiral of his career, but rather his character is on a downward spiral. There's a difference. So his character needs to do some rebuilding. I think kind of like Kevin Owens, who tweeted out after he lost to Sammy that, I'll see you in a little while, saying he's taking a break. So I think that's fine. Maybe it's to show up in NXT. Maybe it's just to take a break and come back before SummerSlam. I mean, it could be just simple as that. And I think that's both of those are possibilities, because I don't think they knew what to really do with Kevin. So he did the favors on, quote, his way out. So, maybe he does show up in NXT, as some have speculated. Well, let's move on to what happened at the beginning of Raw, because it was really awesome to hear, but also a little bit political, believe it or not. And that's kind of the way I took this. I know many of you are like, what are you talking about political? Well, here's where things for me went south, is when Xavier Woods talked about toxic masculinity with Bobby Lashley. And, well, we'll get to that audio in a minute. That's where it turned for me. However, I do love how Bobby Lashley and MVP called them clowns and continued to just destroy Kofi Kingston over the fact that you're just, you can sit there and do all the jokes you want. And just like last night, you're going to be a spectator watching the pay-per-view, not being on it. I loved that. It's so true. And for all of the things that Kofi Kingston talks about, he has yet to defend his reasoning for being there, or at least his professional reason for being there outside of throwing pancakes or toast in this instance. And it's really inexcusable for his character to ignore the fact that it's been 2 years since he just realized, oh, I lost the championship. That's right. It's a bad look on Kofi. So I loved their destruction of Kofi, and it seemed a little bit real, and it seemed a lot of frustration from the fans were being spoken through MVP and Bobby, which really makes you wonder why the hell they're supposed to be heels. Why am I supposed to be angry with Bobby Lashley? I mean, yes, he won or retained his championship in a bit of a conundrum, which I think was actually a bad idea if you're trying to get him prepared for Brock Lesnar, if that's the idea, that having MVP be the one to, be the reason he's still champion. I think it's a bad idea. However, he is a heel, so I guess there is the argument for that. But having them out there last night and saying exactly what a lot of fans are thinking with Kofi is not heel-like at all. There's nothing there that you would say, no, that's not right to say. No. Everything that MVP talked about was true and has been true. Same with Bobby Lashley. And talking about how, basically you can take your video game friend and sit in the back and make jokes while we're in here winning championships, essentially, right? It's so true. It's so true, and it is just a complete breakdown of both of those guys. But let's actually, I normally don't do audio for Monday Night Raw, so we're only going to do a little bit because of copyright, of course. So let's just take a listen to some of this, because it's just so beautiful.
This clown nonsense right here is exactly why you were watching Hell in a Cell instead of main eventing it like the almighty WWE champion. You're a clown, and you belong in a circus. So once we get back in front of live crowds, the WWE universe, you will continue to be doing your stupid little cosplay and playing your video games with this court jester you call your friend, while we will be enjoying the finer things in life.
All right, so I gotta pause it there. It's great. I mean, MVP is exactly right. He's exactly right, and of course, Kofi's defense against this whole thing, his defense is ridiculous. He's here for his friends and his family. It's all about his friends and his family. His friends and his family. What the hell do they have to do with your career? Really? If you're here to simply entertain them, get off the roster. There has been no defense, at least a logical one, from Kofi Kingston to explain why he is coming out on a weekly basis, continuing to throw whatever food item is backstage. And by the way, where did they get all that toast? Really? And how did they know that they were going to bring up the word toast and make a toast so that they can actually, go in the back and say, hey guys, we need a whole bunch of bread. We need to create 2 dozen pieces of toast. How did that happen? I mean, the logistics of it, of course, I'm just nitpicking things. My point is that MVP and then Bobby Lashley have been brilliant in their destruction of the New Day. I mean, Kofi goes on to talk about how he was, he surrounds himself with people he trusts instead of people that'll drop him at the, tip of a hat. Again, I will ask you, what does that have to do with you being successful? You can surround yourself in a tag team. You can live in the little mid card of a tag team. And he briefly touched the main event and then just went right back to his comfort zone. Or at least that's where Vince placed him again. He's like, you had your fun. Recess is over, Kofi. Back into school. I mean, that's essentially what happened with his character. And that's where Kofi has lived ever since he lost. And to Brock Lesnar, of course, on the very first SmackDown on Fox 2 years ago in July of 2019, I believe it was. So Lashley then, kind of trips himself up after he accepts Kofi's challenge to be to challenge for the WWE Championship. We have Bobby accepting it. And then he kind of gets tripped up by saying, and to make sure there's no interference at Money in the Bank. And then MVP stops him and he's like, no, whoa. He's like, no, tonight. And then Bobby's like, oh, crap, that's right, about tonight. I want your friend. He meant to talk about Xavier inside the cell rather than Kofi at Money in the Bank inside the cell. He got things kind of crossed, which is, not atypical for Bobby, who's not excellent on the mic. He's okay. And so this is where things to me take a little bit of a turn, a little bit of a political turn. I hate talking about politics, but it's starting to rear its head here. So let's take a listen, and I'll let you know what I'm talking about here.
So what I propose is, why don't you let me have a match with your little clown and crime friend, your little video game playing buddy, Xavier Woods, tonight.
Bobby, you're not the first person to say something like that about me, and you won't be the last. But the two of you, y'all are in a long line of old school mentality having toxic testosterone-filled meatheads that don't have the mental acuity to perceive a renaissance man such as Xavier Woods. And I know that the two of y'all don't see me on the same level as Kofi and E. We've seen E go on. Shut up, MVP. I'm speaking.
Yeah, okay.
I am speaking. We've seen E go on to become Intercontinental Champion. I was there when Kofi Kingston won that WWE Championship at WrestleMania. And even though your boy's mind is set on an eventual comeback in the King of the Ring tournament, let me give you a few of my accolades. 2 million plus subscribers on Up, Up, Down, Down. That's the YouTube. Go subscribe if you've yet to subscribe already. I'm a G4 host. And most importantly, I am an 11-time WWE World Tag Team Champion.
Okay, let me stop there. Well, first for copyrights, and also because Xavier, I have a lot of problems with what Xavier Woods said here. Number one, going in reverse, we have Xavier Woods talking about how he's running down his resume as if we're supposed to be impressed that these are acceptable qualifications to challenge Bobby Lashley for a WWE Championship. Now, let me list them off. He said that he's got 2 million subscribers on YouTube. Apparently, that's a qualification, guys. It matters how many YouTubes. Are people really touting this as qualifications for things? Is this real? I thought he was just going to be kind of, inside joke, haha. No, he used that as an actual defense of himself because of how many subscribers he has on YouTube. It's pathetic. The other thing he talked about, he's a G4 host, right? You and how many others? Who cares? Has nothing to do with in-ring. Like YouTube, has nothing to do with in-ring. And by the way, your platform would not be at 2 million subscribers, nor would you have gotten a G4 hosting opportunity if you weren't in the WWE. The WWE platform gave you that. You didn't. Nonetheless, you also brought up you're an 11-time tag team champion. Okay. Do you also know that means you lost it 11 times? And by the way, that is not a solo championship. It is a tag team championship. That's not doing it by yourself. And that's over a span of how many years? How many years has WWE kept the New Day together? So that is, none of those, to me, none of them are qualifications to face Bobby Lashley for the WWE Championship. And WWE actually tweeted out, they had the balls to tweet out, call your friends, call your family, this is happening tonight. Meaning Xavier Woods versus Bobby Lashley inside Hell in a Cell. I wouldn't call anybody. In fact, I would make sure people don't watch that. Not for disrespect to Bobby Lashley or really even both guys. Just the fact that that's embarrassing that you're telling me that that's something worth spreading to people that normally don't watch wrestling, because that's the assumption is you're going to call people that normally don't watch and say, hey, you got to see Lashley versus Xavier Woods. They'd probably say, I'm sorry, who? Right? They'd be like, wait, what? Because if you have to call these people, they're not watching wrestling to begin with, which means that they only really care about WrestleMania or SummerSlam. And they come back for the big names. Right? It's just... And here's the political part I don't like. They called it the old school toxic masculinity meatheads, whatever. So how exactly are they toxic? What's so toxic about them? Explain. And I want specifics. Exactly what makes them toxic? That he's an alpha male? And he is. I think we don't have enough of those in society today, by the way. Everyone has been kind of softened. So the fact that he's an alpha male, he does what he says, he beats people up, that's toxic. Define what toxic masculinity is, my friend. The reason I bring that up in political terms is that's a very anti-male feminist type of argument about the male hierarchical structure in today's society. And how, people are oppressed because of it, all that. I'm not going to get into it. But I don't like when even political phrases are being brought up, even if it's in a wrestling context. Like, for example, even Sami Zayn, when he talks about how he's oppressed and he's marginalized, he's using terms that are in a different context of pro wrestling. I just don't like it. Because I don't want to deal with politics when I'm watching wrestling. Should be the opposite. So anyway, I know I've talked about this for like 15 minutes, but I wanted to touch on it because I had a real problem with Xavier Woods here, and it seemed real. I mean, and Kofi's over there like, preach. I'm like, preach about what? There's no ground to stand on, Kofi. The more really, I'm serious. The more that I am seeing Kofi and Xavier on a weekly basis, the more that I am just completely turned off by their characters, and they are perhaps, if not already, superseded The Miz and Morrison. And that is a really, really high bar to cross there, because I just, for a while, obviously Miz and Morrison, I've despised, and I still do, but the New Day coming out here on a weekly basis, just still acting like fools. I like how they're being brought to the forefront as fools, but it's the heels pointing it out, but it's the truth. And I don't know why I'm supposed to dislike Bobby. I really don't. I mean, yeah, you have the silly Lashley's ladies in the back who are all programmed to do the same mannerisms and scream and say the same things. It's like WWE gave them three different options. Either, pretend to cheer for Bobby, just sit there and smile, or scream whenever Bobby does something great and cheer him on. I mean, those are really the three options for these robots that come out there. Nonetheless, I don't know, guys. I know I've spent way too much time on this, and I'm sure some of you are like, move on, and I am. I just want to get that off my chest, because Kofi and Xavier, especially Xavier, is starting to really, really wear thin on me, and it's time for a change. It's time for them to move on. It's okay the New Day breaks up. It doesn't have to be a feud. They can just naturally go their own ways. And they're talking about Big E. Yeah, Big E's not even in. Of course, Big E. He won the Intercontinental Championship, and then he lost it, and then he's back to being a New Day character. So even Big E on SmackDown, I don't think is doing very well, at least to where we had hoped to this point. Big E is certainly not in a great position. I'll say that. because I think a lot of us had much higher hopes for Big E right now. And they'll come eventually. It's just, he seems like he's regressing every week. So, okay, let's move on here. We also got a Rhea Ripley and Charlotte interaction as we have Sonya Deville and Adam Pearce, who only come out when it has to do with Charlotte, by the way. You ever notice that? And they called Rhea Ripley out and talked about how, what she did was unprofessional. What she did to get intentionally disqualified in her match with Charlotte was, again, it was very just unprofessional, as I said. I don't know what other way to say it. And to Rhea's point, and to her credit, she did point out that Charlotte has done this on a like a nightly basis, and yet the rules only apply to me and not Charlotte, which is true. It's true. And I'll get to that in a minute too, about the complete hypocrisy of how Rhea Ripley got disqualified at Hell in a Cell. It's actually quite hilarious. But Charlotte comes out and congratulates Rhea and says that she's impressed, and then she's immediately granted a match at Money in the Bank for the Raw Women's Championship again. Why is no one else caring about this? Is the Raw Women's Championship like a secret? Is the Raw Women's Championship a secret from the rest of the women? Is nobody else talking? Well, why is nobody else even talking about this in their promos? I love Charlotte. I think she has really even reinvented herself to some degree since her return after WrestleMania. But it just feels like the rest of the women don't care, or at least their promos don't tell me they care about being Raw Women's Champion. They should be there to want to be champion. Otherwise, what the F are you doing here? So I'm fine with the rematch. We kind of knew that given the finish of Hell in a Cell. I think that they work well together, very well together. I like their styles, and their chemistry is much better than was Asuka's and Rhea Ripley's. So the only thing I have is, if you're going to tell me that this is a rematch to get a clean finish out of it and to determine a real winner, well, why are you putting them in the same type of match that they just experienced that disqualification with? In other words, why not make it a no DQ match? Why are we going to continue to give it the same stipulation and the same parameters in a normal wrestling match? I was expecting Adam Pearce to say, and to make sure there's a winner, blah, 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 right? Instead of just, you get your rematch. Well, okay, so you're just going to do the same thing you did at Hell in a Cell. Makes no sense. But maybe the stipulation is coming in the next few weeks, and then we haven't seen the whole story yet. Now, why I said that's what's funny about the disqualification about Rhea Ripley and Hell in a Cell is the very next match after this segment was Charlotte and Rhea. The very next match, which was Orton versus Morrison for qualification in the qualifying match to be in the Money in the Bank ladder match, Orton not only uses the table to slam Morrison's face into the announce table, but he backdrops him on it. How is that not a disqualification? So apparently taking that top piece off and slamming it is a DQ. But you can stand there and slam your opponent's head into it. As long as you don't detach it from the table, we're all good. It doesn't make sense. To me, those should be disqualifications. I think they should actually tighten things up. Why are you able to use the ring steps? Just because they're there? How has, if the fact that the ring steps are there is reason for why it's not a DQ, and the announce tables are there, which is reason for them being okay and it's not a DQ, well then why can't you say the same thing for a steel chair, right? As long as you don't pick it up and swing it, you just keep everything in place. Well, that logic could apply to anything at ringside at all, as long as you don't pick it up and swing it. It's really completely illogical. It was just hilarious that they just brought in that piece of footage from Rhea Ripley being DQ'd at Hell in a Cell, and then immediately followed it with a match that used that same announce table as a weapon, and that match did not end in DQ. Like it's just there's no consistency. There's no consistency. So, but Orton and Morrison, I think was a good match. I'm surprised Orton lost, but again, when I opened the show, I said that yes, it was a night of upsets, but I think it made sense because you don't want these heavy favorites in these matches going into the Money in the Bank ladder match, because you want to give guys and gals the opportunity to be in a match and carry a championship or get an opportunity at a championship, because they normally otherwise wouldn't. And you don't want the same people in the championship hunt. So that's why it was a night of upsets, because it had to be. It had to be. Oh, and speaking of which, did anybody else catch the statement about how if McIntyre wins, he can't challenge Lashley, so maybe he could go to SmackDown and I'm like, whoa. I said to myself, wait. Why? How? It seems as if the rules are never clear. It should be the brand you're on, you can challenge any champion. Yet that changes. And it also changes at the Rumble year to year. It doesn't make sense. What I think is going to happen is we're going to have at the draft Drew and Roman on the same brand. I think that's a foregone conclusion to eventually have them collide. So it just made no sense to me. I'm thinking to myself, no, that's not a thing. But okay. Randy did lose, and it was because he was accidentally distracted by Riddle, and he continues to be frustrated with Riddle, and he loses the match. And their tension continues to grow. So we'll see when that actually blows off. It could be in a week. It could be at SummerSlam, probably in a match between those two at SummerSlam, I would assume, with presumably, although not confirmed, with Randy being the heel and Riddle being the babyface there. And so Randy loses that match with one Starship Pain, which is it's a beautiful move. I mean, I got to give it to Morrison. He is so good in the ring. And anytime he's not on the microphone is a great thing. I mean, it helps him immensely just to not say anything and come out and just do what he does. Miz in the wheelchair is mildly entertaining. And Morrison in the Money in the Bank ladder match is going to be fun because, he's just going to flip, fly, and take stupid bumps. And I think a lot of us are looking forward to that at the sacrifice and health and safety of John Morrison himself. So, okay. I'm trying to move on to something positive here because I don't want to come off like this is a complete destruction of Monday Night Raw. Here's how I felt about the show overall, though. I thought it was well structured. I like how it was wrestling heavy. Okay, I like how they had a formula for the show, getting all competitors, at least 5 of them, in line for the Money in the Bank qualifiers and figuring out who's going to be in the match. And that's great.
Stay right there. The WWE podcast will return after this quick break.
My name is Mike De Niro, and I am 1/3 of the New York City rap group, the Lords of Gotham. I am also the host of the Wrestling DeLorean podcast. The Wrestling DeLorean podcast is your one-stop shop for all the news and notes around the wrestling world. We talk about everything from WWE to AEW, Impact Wrestling, New Japan Pro Wrestling, MLW, Ring of Honor, and beyond. But wait, there's more. We also go back in time and discuss all the events and moments that made us all fans. New episodes of the Wrestling DeLorean podcast drop Monday through Friday. Yes, 5 episodes a week, and you can find us wherever you enjoy your favorite podcasts. So what are you waiting for? Hop in the Wrestling DeLorean, strap in your seatbelt, become a passenger of the Wrestling DeLorean podcast, and enjoy the ride, because it is going to be one hell of a good time.
Welcome back to the WWE podcast. Let's get back to more great wrestling audio.
Because you want to know off the bat who's going to be in this match. I'm glad they didn't string it out over several weeks. It was just one shot and done. So that was really good. I do like the chemistry again between Rhea and Charlotte. It's good. And I think that this will probably be their final match, which may result in Becky Lynch coming back at the pay-per-view. of Money in the Bank. Now, I will say, when you think about this, how apropos would it be for Becky Lynch to return at the very pay-per-view in which she retired the Monday Night Raw after, giving that Money in the Bank briefcase to Asuka, which contained the Raw Women's Championship. So there is some poetry there when you remember what happened with Becky last year. So I think that what's going to happen is, early prediction, you're going to have Rhea and Charlotte battle it out, probably Rhea ending up doing something underhanded once again to retain her championship, and then you hear Becky Lynch's music hit. No doubt. And I think that's going to be great. That's my guess. It could be strung out till SummerSlam, but all bets are off now that fans are back, starting, of course, in just a few weeks, 3 weeks. Okay, well, we did also get a Money in the Bank qualifying match, which was the Raw Tag Team Champion of AJ Styles, who was with Omos, versus Ricochet. And off the bat, you know what kind of match you're getting here. You're getting you're getting a B match at the basement level, right? Like, at the worst case scenario, you're getting a B match. And more than likely B plus A minus, and these two are just, of course, really good together. Ricochet continues to just make you go, how the hell is he doing that? And it ends, of course, well, I shouldn't say of course, it ends by upset, the first upset of the night, by Ricochet with the recoil out of midair for the win. So we had Omos put himself through the barricade, which took him out. The Viking Raiders were a cause of that as they attacked Omos, and then he fought them off and put himself through a barricade. But he went for a phenomenal forearm, and Ricochet hit the recoil out of midair for the win. So, fine. Again, why wouldn't you want Ricochet over AJ Styles in that match? I know some of you are like, well, AJ Styles, wouldn't you want him in Money in the Bank? No, I wouldn't. I want AJ Styles in just a normal championship opportunity. However, if you have a heel champion, you can't have a heel challenge normally. So as long as Bobby Lashley holds that championship, very unlikely AJ Styles is going to get an opportunity, at least in the foreseeable future. And I don't even know when Bobby Lashley is going to drop that belt. I really don't even know. I don't. It could be to Brock. I don't even know who honestly could do it at this point. I know Kofi Kingston. If they put it on Kofi, I'm going to, I may I may have an aneurysm live here on air. So anyway, great match with these two. As always, Ricochet gets the victory, and I think maybe the biggest victory of Ricochet's career. Okay. All right. In the next match, we get Asuka and Naomi versus Eva Marie and, no, not Piper Niven, but Doudrop. What? Doudrop, guys. Yes. Is it supposed to be a play on gumdrop, or like a drop of dew on the grass? Like, what is she shaped like a drop of water? Is that the funny fat joke? Is that what this is about? Like, I don't understand this. This is not good for the Raw Women's Division, because it's bringing you back to Eva Marie and her same old, I can't fight because of X, Y, and Z. And now they're also essentially body shaming this woman by calling her Doudrop. She doesn't have a voice of her own. She can't speak up. There's no explanation for the relationship between these two. And she did stand up to Eva Marie during this match and basically bow out. Even though this is a Money in the Bank qualifying match, by the way, Eva Marie did not do anything in the match other than go for a cover when it was convenient, and then ends up getting the gotta do it, guys, the roll up, the roll up. Naomi rolled up Eva for the win, and I hate calling her Doudrop. I'll just say she didn't do anything to help Eva Marie. And I'm split on this, because in one respect, I like that she's standing up for herself. She's not just coming up to get berated and talked down to and made fun of, and she took a stand. At the same time, you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot here there, Miss Piper. I'll call her Piper because that's who she was known as. Because you also have a dog in the hunt here. You want to be in that Money in the Bank qualifying match, don't you? That's why you're here, presumably, to win a championship. That's what you should want to be here for. And yet you, punish Eva by punishing yourself too? It was a little bit misguided in the finish there. She could have waited till the end of the match when, maybe she was getting beat down and then not help her, but yet she still qualified. It didn't make sense to me at all. Oh God. Calling her Dewdrop. Maybe it's spelled, I guess, D-O-U drop, not D-E-W. I don't know. Regardless, why we need to shame her. I mean, again, she's probably the size of Nia Jax, and yet, anyway. It's frustrating. It's really frustrating. And Eva Marie continues to not be in the ring and do her everything red gimmick from 5 years ago, except this time she's with somebody else who does her dirty work. But now she's gone. So who knows what happens here. Okay. Now we get to Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross. Again, this is a Money in the Bank qualifying match where they put all the women together so that they don't have to do singles matches for them, I assume, because you can't have 10 matches to put the to figure out who all is going to be in their respective Money in the Bank ladder matches. But yet you group all the women together in tag teams, and yet the men get singles competition. There's a serious problem with the women's division, guys. A big problem. It has regressed a lot, and it's not good. It's not good. So this comes Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross versus Nia and Shayna Baszler. Guys, I know that some of you think I'm being so negative. I will talk about this. The match itself was okay. It's okay. I don't actually hate Alexa Bliss's silliness. If she's just going to be hypnotizing people, that's better than haunted dolls. I guess that's not really a high bar to overcome, but they could have done a lot with this character, and it feels like it's now just getting to the point of what's the end game here? What's the end game? I'm reading a report from, I'll give credit where credit's due, WrestleReview.com, and they reviewed this and said, screw it. This isn't wrestling. I'm done recapping Alexa Bliss garbage. That's what they said. So credit to WrestleReview.com. But this is exactly it was kind of crappy. Not crappy in the way that even the match was that great. And the slapping and the mind control that you just look at her and you're apparently you're just a puppet to her, which is not explained or anything, but rather the real sense of, or lack of knowledge, or I'm sorry, lack of logic. Nikki Cross is the story here to me. Not even Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax, who we were all hoping they were done and gone, or the fact that we have, Shayna Baszler taking pinfall after pinfall after pinfall, which is just a crime in its own right. But Nikki Cross and Alexa Bliss, layer number one. Why was it just ignored or brushed over that these two actually had a checkered past, that they were best friends and then they were bitter enemies, and Alexa Bliss was just turned on her, all that kind of stuff? Why is that's just glossed over that they suddenly are in a tag team match together? And there's not even discussed. It's just like it didn't exist. And that's number one. Number two, Nikki Cross goes from one of the most feared women in NXT, has a great crazy look to her, to this superhero. Now, some of you, this may be your cup of tea. Some of you out there say, hey, cool, she's embracing positivity, she's being herself, all that kind of stuff. Great. And good for you. And I mean that sincerely. I don't mean that as a wink, wink, nod, nod, you're an idiot. I mean that as seriously. That's great that you enjoy something like this. I'm being real, because that means that it's clicking with you, and Nikki has more of a personality than she did, and there's some positives there. I'm going to take the opposite approach here. Because while it has worked in the past for somebody like the Hurricane, Molly Holly to an extent, it's not my thing. It's just not my thing. It feels like when they do something like this that they don't know what the hell to do with somebody, and they just stick a mask and a cape on you and go, well, this is our last ditch effort. We're going to just make you the most ridiculous, improbable character of making you a superhero at 30 some years old, and that you're supposed to be out there inspiring people. Let me say this. If in your life, you weren't inspired or had issues until you saw Nikki Cross, you've got bigger problems. You've got bigger problems than worrying about Nikki Cross's character change. Okay. I just, it's such a running theme through WWE to talk about how they hope they inspire people. And look at me, all this, the overwhelming and oversaturation of positivity. And I don't mean the power of positivity. I mean the actual just sickeningly, just almost perverse obsession with making baby faces completely not even PG, but G-rated cartoon characters, especially in their promos, it's the biggest turnoff for me to support you. I don't like telling me that you are an inspiration, or you hope you're an inspiration and anybody can be anything they want to be. No, they actually can't in real life. Like, there are limits to what you can do and can't do. If you want to know what I'm talking about, for just a very quick example, I, at 5'7", can never play in the NBA. Ever. Right? So, don't give me you can do anything you put your mind to stuff. Just go look at social media. There's people all the time putting up, you always see these people, inspirational posts and all this. Just, to me, it's so, it's icky to me. Just be effing real. Stop with this crap. That's not real life, my friends. And Nikki Cross embracing this, I think, is a last-ditch effort by WWE. I really doubt it was something on her part. It was just kind of, I'll do this because I don't want to, be one of those future endeavored people. I don't think it was something that she, inside, if you were able to put truth serum in her, that she would have agreed to. But hey, if it works out, it works out. Good for her. And that's why I open this by saying, if this is something you like, seriously, great. I think it's stomach-churningly, say your prayers, take your vitamins, kumbaya around the fire crap. It's not real. It's not a character I can relate to at all. And they did it with, who was it? Oh, Bianca Belair. They gave her the same kind of promo. Drew McIntyre, when he became champion, I'm going to be a fighting champion, someone you can look up to. Stop. We don't need to. All right, I'm going to stop there, guys. I did not like the Nikki Cross thing. Okay, if that's not clear. Alexa Bliss is also a mess. Shayna Baszler should not be in a tag team at all. She should be banned from being in a tag team. This is just not good right now. Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross win. So there's that. All right. Moving on here. McIntyre versus Riddle in a qualifying match. Here's the shining light. They were really good together. Really good. Really, really good. And Drew cut a decent promo prior to going into the ring with Riddle. The only thing I could critique is, can we stop with the history lessons? This time he brought up Winston Churchill. Am I in history class? Is this 10th grade again? Why am I being subjected to his analogies that don't make any sense? He's bringing up quotes and history about wars and all these things that really have no bearing on what he's doing. Is he just trying to do new things to do new things? I don't understand that. To me, it's a disconnect in his promos when he goes off on a tangent about, Winston Churchill or some Scottish general in a war. Sorry, buddy, I don't care unless there's some really clever point you're going to make. Please just drop it. It's not working. at least for me. But then again, I look for logic, and shame on me for that. So this match was really good though. I think this was a really well done match. I thought that when Randy came out that he was going to cost Riddle this match. I think most of us probably thought that, or at least drop an RKO on him. He didn't. And McIntyre lost after the only thing, guys, the victory roll. That's how they're called. The victory roll for the win. Oh boy. Again, after a great match, it ends with a roll-up. Roll-ups are the death of wrestling. They're going to be. They're going to be the death of just emotional investment, because you're telling me that a roll-up is more effective than kicking someone in the head or super kicking somebody or slamming your entire body weight on them from the top rope. You're telling me a roll-up has a higher chance of success than any of those things. I would beg to differ on that. So let's see what else happened. Elias is running away from Jackson Riker again. Jackson Riker was backstage with Mansoor. Mansoor asks for advice, and Riker says he will face Elias in a strap match next week, so don't let your opponents run away. Mustafa Ali says Mansoor is asking the wrong people the wrong questions, and you need to build your own ladder to make it in this company. Riker starts whipping himself with a strap. Oh, God. You can tell that was not on Hulu. I read that. I don't even know what to say about this. I don't. So I'm going to continue and move on. And let's get to the main event. Here. Bobby Lashley versus Xavier Woods. This was actually a non-title match, so I corrected myself. This was a non-title match. Fine. To me, it still doesn't make it any better. But he's trying to make the case that he should be in the ring with Lashley. I still would disagree with that. I still do. I still disagree with the Kofi Kingston should be in the ring with the champion, nor should he be awarded an opportunity at the WWE Championship. But hey, this match, let me give you the great stuff here. Xavier Woods can go. I like Xavier Woods in the ring. I think he's got a good style. He can adapt to nearly any style. He is physical when he needs to be. He showed some fire. He showed some hope spots. I liked it. I liked this match. In fact, a lot. I really did. It was nice psychology with having Woods get some hope spots on him. And it was really good. I mean, the chair shots, of course, got to bring out the kendo stick. And the spot that Xavier Woods put Bobby through a table and he overshot the ring was crazy. I mean, the fact that he could basically go from one side of the ring to the other almost, it's pretty amazing. I mean, the guy is athletic as hell. So I give Woods that. I have no problem with that. And it's certainly a testament to his toughness, to his athleticism, and when he can go, he can go. I loved it. So they also made me believe at times that we could have Xavier go over here, but he didn't. He did not. Lashley, let's see here. I'm reading the description just to make sure I didn't miss anything. Lashley avoids a running knee from Woods, sends him into a chair, wedged in the corner, and Lashley spears Woods before applying the Hurt Lock for the win. Yep. And then having MVP get into the cell, locking the cell so Kofi couldn't help his partner, and then having Lashley continue to apply the Hurt Lock in front of Kofi was really good. It created, at least if you're caring about this, it created anticipation for Kofi versus Bobby for the WWE Championship. And maybe we can also ban, if we're in, if we have the power to ban Kofi from saying names purposefully wrong. What I mean by that is when he was in a program with Randy, he calls him Randall. When he's in a program with Bobby Lashley, he calls him Bob, and he said Bob like 6 times. It's not cute. It's kind of disrespectful, and it's like you're above calling them what everyone else does. So I don't know. It's just everything about Kofi Kingston, everything character-wise from top to bottom is at the top of my annoyance list right now, as you guys could heard from me earlier. So anyway, guys, a Raw that I know many of you may be a lot higher on. I think that many of you may be a lot higher on it than I am. I think, again, it was structured nicely. That's the one thing. It was structured very nicely to build you towards Money in the Bank. I just think that the execution of like Nikki Cross coming out of nowhere, if you like that thing, great. Of course, Xavier Woods and Kofi. I think they just need to hold me over to get to Bobby Lashley's real next opponent, which I think is Brock. And then a positive would be AJ Styles actually having a match, a singles match on Raw, a really good one against Ricochet. Eva Marie and Doudrop are just, I mean, I don't even know what to say about that. You talk about a perfect exact regression of the Raw Women's division, and she is it. She is it. She's like a cancer right now. She is she's like the epitome of the Divas era to me. And she is just a cancer that, at least character-wise, I don't know how she is in the ring. Maybe she's really good in the ring. Maybe. I have my doubts, but perhaps she is. I'm going on the assumption she's not. And if she's not, and they're just going to keep playing this out, then get the hell rid of her. She has brought back the women's division already in her story and character, not as a person, nor as a performer, because we don't know what she can really do. But the creative for the women, that's probably where I should really direct my criticism. The creative for the women has been really bad for a while now. That's why I really feel for. And we have our problems in the men's division, as I went over. But the women's, the entire division has a problem. It's not just like one or two or three programs or individuals. It's the creative for them as an aggregate, a whole, that I have the biggest issue with. And that's a discussion probably for another day. But I know it sounds like I complain the whole time, but there are some bright spots. We have the crowd returning. I like how they're building towards Money in the Bank. It was a lot of upsets, but it needed to be. So, guys, I hope you survived this one. I'm sure I'll get some reviews that say all he does is complain. I get those on Apple Podcasts all the time. It is what it is. But if you've listened this long and you want to leave a review, I would appreciate it. 5-star, of course. I mean, there's no other way to do it. I mean, you have to leave 5-star. It's a demand. You have to acknowledge me. So there, I just turned heel on everybody. Thank you, everybody, for listening. I'll be back tomorrow night with your mailbag and wrestling nostalgia for both patrons and subscribers, paid subscribers on our Apple Podcast feed. Until then, I'll talk to you next time.
My name is Mike De Niro, and I am 1/3 of the New York City rap group, the Lords of Gotham. I am also the host of the Wrestling DeLorean podcast. The Wrestling DeLorean podcast is your one-stop shop for all the news and notes around the wrestling world. We talk about everything from WWE to AEW, Impact Wrestling, New Japan Pro Wrestling, MLW, Ring of Honor, and beyond. But wait, there's more. We also go back in time and discuss all the events and moments that made us all fans. New episodes of the Wrestling DeLorean podcast drop Monday through Friday. Yes, 5 episodes a week, and you can find us wherever you enjoy your favorite podcasts. So what are you waiting for? Hop in the Wrestling DeLorean, strap in your seatbelt, become a passenger of the Wrestling DeLorean podcast, and enjoy the ride, because it is going to be one hell of a good time.